Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's live stream, we have a couple of big snowstorms that are moving into the country as we go through this weekend and early next week. And I figured I'd come on and talk to you folks about what is expected as we go into this upcoming weekend and as we go into early next week. So, without further ado, let's get into the nuts and the bolts of the forecast here. And let's look first at our first system. And this is a zoomed out picture of prediction of the troughs in the United States and the ridges. This is your 500 millibar height anomaly. So what you see here is you have the blues. That is your lower pressures and usually brings more active weather and cooler weather. And then you see the oranges and reds. Those are those ridges, those high pressure systems bringing usually milder temperatures, milder weather, but also drier and less active weather. And you could see that here across the country. So what you're seeing right now, you have a low pressure system as we go through today that is moving off the coast there of the East Coast, and that is no longer with us. That is into portions of the Atlantic Ocean. Our next area of concern will be down here in towards the Gulf Coast, into Texas Hill Country, into the lower Mississippi Valley as we go into your Tuesday afternoon time frame. So right now into your Tuesday night tonight. So we'll keep an eye on that storm system. And then notice a big trough moving in off into the West Coast here, the Sacramento Valley into California, Oregon, Washington State there. That's moving in as we go into tonight. That will be diving down here into the Four Corners region as we go into that Wednesday time frame tomorrow. And that is our snowstorm, believe it or not. That will be moving into the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast New England as we go into this upcoming weekend. Notice you can see that trough down here. This is by Thursday night on January 4th. That low is across the Texas Panhandle, so right over the Amarillo region as we go into that Thursday time frame. And then you can see it pushing across the south and then lifting up, ejecting into the mid-Atlantic states and then eventually the Northeast and New England. But look at that, folks. Right on its heels, we have another storm system moving in across the west, the Rockies, the Intermountain West as we go into this upcoming weekend. That one will be a little bit more significant as far as the cold air aloft with it. It'll have a lot more cold air available to produce some snowfall. And even further south here, we'll be talking about that. And it'll be more of a negatively tilted trough. So that one could be more significant with bringing heavy snow, possibly some ice threats as well with an ice storm potential in between, and then heavy rain and severe weather with that second system as we go into early next week, about a week from today. So let's first break down what you can expect across the country here going through the next couple of days. So looking at the evening hours tonight, we have some rain and some snow across the west coast of the United States there. The higher elevations will be seeing the colder weather, so therefore you will see the snowfall across the higher elevations of Washington State, Oregon, and the Sierras. The northern Sierras there in California will likely be seeing some decent rains as we go in, or decent snows rather, as we go into tonight. Rains, though, decent rains across portions of coastal California, western Oregon, the Portland region, up towards Seattle as we go into overnight tonight. Then as we go into your Wednesday time frame, that trough, that snowstorm that's moving into the mid-Atlantic, northeast and New England for this weekend will be moving into portions of Nevada, getting into Utah and Arizona as we go into your Wednesday time frame, bringing some snow again in those higher elevations and rainfall in the lower elevations as we go into your Wednesday, January 3rd time frame. I'll be peeking at this every so often to look at some of your comments here. And hey, everybody. Hey, Steven. Thanks for joining. Let's see here. Yeah, I see some of your comments coming in. So every once in a while, I pop my head over and look at some of your comments. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, make sure to keep them down below. And also make sure to press that like button. Again, if you guys are joining the channel and you are here for the first time, Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. We do detailed weather breakdowns across North America, whether it's southern Canada, the United States, the tropics during tropical weather season. We do cover that. Winter storms, everything in between, tornado outbreaks. We cover it all here on this channel. So make sure to subscribe to the channel down below and spread the word out about this channel for accurate weather forecasts. Be sure, though, to press the like button. It helps out to get more people into this live stream as we're talking about these upcoming snowstorms to help them understand what is coming over the next several days. So that will be a big help for me. So I appreciate it. Our goal, though, at the end of January is to get to 75,000 subscribers. So I appreciate all of the new subscribers to the channel. I appreciate everybody who's been here for so long, all the subscribers that have been with me for over a year now. I do appreciate that and all your support. So thank you so much. So I just wanted to take some time to tell you guys that. I appreciate each and every one of you. So yeah, going into Thursday, we have that system moving down into the Four Corners region. Now this could be bringing some snows across portions of the Four Corners region. So let's go down there right now and look at this. This is the GFS model, okay? That's the model we were just looking at. Notice the snowfall on Thursday, that's a little too far. There we go. On Thursday, we have the snowfall moving into Arizona there, parts of Utah, Colorado, into New Mexico. There could be a little bit of some heavier snowfall there into northern New Mexico as we go into Thursday afternoon on January 4th. Looking at some of your snowfall accumulations with this, and you can see the Sierras out here into California, definitely seeing several inches, possibly up to a foot or so of snow with that first system. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday into Thursday time frame this week. So right now at the present time, all the way through Thursday, January 4th, we could be seeing up to around a foot of snow in the highest of elevations of the Sierras out there to the west. Then across the eastern areas there into portions of Nevada, just outside Las Vegas, in those higher elevations, 1 to 3 inches will be likely. Northern Arizona, southern Utah, getting into southwestern Colorado, northwestern New Mexico. In the higher elevations, we could be seeing widespread 1 to 3 inches of snow. So some shovelable snow for our folks down there in the Pacific Southwest through that Thursday time frame. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go back here to the precip type and let's move this a little further east here across the southern plains. So going through Thursday, there's that system we're talking about. It's rounding its way through portions of the southern plains on Friday. But notice, though, the greens on the map. So Oklahoma, Arkansas, getting into Texas, and then Louisiana, Mississippi. Further south is what I'm saying here. We're going to be seeing a lot more rain versus snow. The cold air is there, but it's marginal cold air. You know, it's been a very mild December, and as we turn into early January, we're still seeing that mild air continue, so it'll be tough to see that snow line initially drop further south, but there could be some decent snows up here into like Kansas. You can see some that snow line going down into southern Kansas there, southwestern Missouri down there towards Springfield, down toward Wichita there, seeing some snow. Topeka seeing snow. Kansas City seeing some snow there as we go into Friday afternoon. Looking at your accumulations here as we go through Friday, yeah, there could be some decent snows across portions of northeastern New Mexico, southeast Colorado, getting into west central Kansas. There could be a swath of 6 to 8 inches of snow here as we go into that time frame. So definitely some plowable, shovelable snow all across this region through that Thursday, Friday time frame as that system begins to move across the south central U.S. there, and just enough cold air in this region. And notice the temperatures are going to be very, very marginal here. Let's go over those temperatures and see the 30s. Temperatures are going to be near the freezing mark or just slightly above it by a degree or two. So it's going to be that 10-to-1 ratio snow. It's going to be that heavy, sloppy, wet snow across this region. So make sure if you are shoveling out here, when you do get the snow Friday, that you are taking it easy, because this snow is a lot heavier than what a fluffy snow would be. It's a wetter, more water content type of snow across this region as we go later this week. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. All right, let's go back here to, let's talk about the Northeast now. All right, a lot of people have been talking about this for quite a while now, and oops, what did I do there? Let's talk about what we are going into as we go into this upcoming weekend for the Northeast. All right, so as we go into the Northeast here, this currently is on the weekend, and you can see the system starts to move in this weekend. Notice, though, up here to the north, it's going to be all snow, okay? So I know last winter was rough for you folks up here into the Northeast. We didn't have much snow across this region, and it looks like we have a pretty decent shot at a big snowstorm literally across this region for the season, and this would probably be one of many that will be moving across the Northeast and New England this winter season. And so here we go. This is on Saturday afternoon here, and we are seeing some snow breaking out across western PA, the Pittsburgh region, and then back into Ohio here. Yeah, Ohio hasn't seen much snow recently either in the past couple of winters. Yeah, there we go. We got some heavier snowfall setting up, especially down there through Ohio, and southeastern Ohio could see a nice during that time, and you could see we have some heavier snows breaking out there across central portions of Pennsylvania, moving in to northern New Jersey, southern New York State, getting in toward Long Island. Now, there is a caveat here. There's still differences in the models on how far north or south that rain snow line will go. And normally, unfortunately, with the water source and the water temperatures being pretty warm here in the Northwest Atlantic Ocean, that rain snow line will be hung up across central portions of New Jersey into central Maryland, very close to Long Island there, and then up toward Cape Cod there in Massachusetts. So that's where that rain snow line on the GFS model is trying to set up, and that is going to make a very tricky forecast for snow across New York City, Long Island, up down into like the Trenton region, into New Jersey, down toward Washington, D.C. as well, into Maryland, as we typically see with some of these snowstorms for the Northeast. Very challenging, very difficult and tricky forecast for snow because just a gradual 25, 50, 75 mile jog north or south with the track of the storm will mean all of the difference between seeing heavy snow and seeing a mix of rain and snow or just all rain. So that is going to be a big factor, is the track of this storm. But notice with the GFS, look at that, folks. We got possibly a nice narrow band of 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates here from Boston down through the Hartford region, much of Rhode Island, through New York City on the GFS model. Note that. And then down into northern New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania, we have that narrow corridor of 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates on the GFS model. So when you look at the snowfall accumulations, now these are early estimates. Don't take this and run with it necessarily. There's still several days before we get into this upcoming weekend. But here is some early estimates. If you're wondering about the snowfall as we go into this weekend, here is what we're looking at with the GFS model. Again, this is one model run, so don't take it and run with it, but here's an early estimate. See the very sharp gradient there, very sharp cutoff. The GFS model does not like southern New Jersey getting snow. It has all rain for southern New Jersey, and for most of eastern Long Island has mostly rain with this, and then Cape Cod, as I was talking about. That rain snow line right over Cape Cod, and that would bring more rain versus snow to Cape Cod there as well. Notice the gradient. It has Boston down the I-95 corridor toward New York City, Hartford, getting into northern New Jersey, and down here into east central Pennsylvania. A very nice swath of 8 to 12 inches with locally higher amounts possible on the GFS model run here, and definitely seeing some heavy snow in that corridor. But again, if this shifts further south, southern New Jersey would be in play, Long Island would be in play, and Cape Cod would be in play. And really, honestly, most of the Northeast and New England would be in play if this shifted just a little bit further to the south by, say, 25, 50, 75 miles, as I was talking about. Now let's look at a different model. This is the Canadian model here. Let's look at the snowfall for that one, and you could see that there's the I-95 corridor, the very sharp cutoff, and actually the Canadian model is in line with the GFS. It's actually showing that, again, Cape Cod, Long Island, especially eastern Long Island, and southern portions of New Jersey doesn't really see a whole lot of snow. Maybe a few flurries, but mostly rain. And there's that sharp cutoff where you could go from nothing to over 8 inches of snow. So you can see that setting up again, 8 to 12 inches, locally higher amounts possible. Boston through the Hartford region, down through New York City, and not Long Island, but New York City proper, and then through northern New Jersey and into east central Pennsylvania, much like the GFS is showing. So there's 2 models that we are looking at for the snowfall there. Let's look at a third one. This is the European model and does pretty well with this as well. Let's look at this. Very similar again to the GFS, although it has the snow a little bit further to the south by maybe a few miles or so versus those 2 other ones. But notice the theme here, 8 to 12 inches of snow still across a majority of eastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, getting through southern New York State, up the I-95 corridor there toward Boston as we go through that weekend time frame. So that's 3 models, folks, and that's why we have so much confidence in this snowstorm and a big snowstorm coming as we go through this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So I know you guys have missed out on the snow across the Northeast. It's coming. It's definitely coming. The winter is starting to change here. I know it's been a mild start to the winter. Things are really changing as we go in towards the second half, especially of January, but even the first half of January with this storm, that's going to set the stage for seeing more of the snowstorms, more cold later into winter. Because think of it this way, if you have a snowpack, the temperatures don't really warm up as much when you don't have a snowpack. So when you don't have a snowpack, temperatures warm up much quicker than when you do. So if you lay down a nice 8 to 12 inches, maybe 15 inches, worst case scenario with some of these snow amounts across the Northeast and New England, that's really going to set the foundation for what could happen for later this winter. You're going to have a lot more cold temperatures, and so more of those systems that move into the Northeast will bring the moisture, and with the cold air in place with that snowpack, that definitely could lead to more snowstorms after we get through the second half of January and for the remainder of the winter season. So this is really just laying the groundwork for what is to come. All right, so let me go through some of your comments here. I can't promise I can get to everybody, but I'll read through the comments here and try to answer as many questions as possible. If you do have any questions about this snowstorm in particular before we talk about the next one, then make sure you ask your question down below. I'll try to answer as many as I can here over the next few minutes. And again, if you are joining, thank you guys so much once again for joining this channel, Weather on the Go. We cover southern Canada, the United States, the tropics during tropical weather season. Hit the subscribe button down below so you are in the weather forecast here on this channel, and you get weather updates each and every day when I do my videos. Just posted a video this morning. You can go check that out after the live stream. Lots of great stuff in there as well. Nick says, will it trend south? Yes, there's definitely a possibility it'll trend further south. So our folks down here in southern New Jersey, Long Island, and even Cape Cod, don't lose hope quite yet. There's still, it's only Tuesday, right? So we have a few days to go yet, so things can still wobble. And it really even just a 24 to 48 hour period right before the storm hits, there could be a last second jog to the south in the weather models that could literally lead from 0 inches of snow, the day before, and then you wake up the next morning and you say, wow, the models are showing 6 inches now. That could happen as we go into later this week. So we'll keep an eye on it. But right now, I would say if you live along I-95, Boston, down to Hartford there, and then down through far northern New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, you're in pretty good shape for some decent snows this weekend. New York City is questionable, even though most of the models do show that. We'll keep an eye on that. Long Island is more questionable. Cape Cod and southern New Jersey, pretty questionable right now for how much snow. The confidence is low and where that gradient will set up. But I'll say this, if you live in Albany, you're in pretty good shape. Albany, New York, you're probably going to see several inches of snow. Definitely be shoveling and snow blowing this weekend for sure. Western Massachusetts, I'm very confident in Western Massachusetts, central Massachusetts there, west of Boston. You're going to see some pretty heavy snow as we go through the weekend. I think Ohio will get a big snow event? That's a great question here, and let's go back over here to Ohio and kind of look at that. right now, this is the European model through Monday. The first storm hits Ohio, but not with much snow. It's going to really pick up further east there towards PA, into New York, into Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, those areas. Eastern Ohio could pick up a couple inches according to the European model here as we go through the weekend time frame. It'll be a quick hitting snow as that snowstorm really starts to crank up, but we're not really talking about much snow with the first system there according to the European model. Let's look at the GFS for Ohio here. GFS is a little bit more bullish overall on the snow amounts, and the GFS is a good model to use, especially when you get closer to for some of these snowfall amounts. But the placement here is a little different from the European. The European's a little further south. The GFS is a lot more bullish with the snowfall and a little bit further north. And so obviously it's going to be having several more inches accumulating in eastern Ohio on the GFS model. It's more biased toward the higher totals here. We're going to have a few days left to kind of fine-tune this. We'll go through the NAM model and the HRRR. Those mesoscale models will definitely help as we get closer to the event, as we can really nail down who will see the heaviest snow, who won't see as much snow, and who will see no snow at all. So that will be something we'll be doing later on this week, and I may go live again for that later this week too. No, Arkansas, you're going to see all rain with this storm. Yes, the next two storms, it's going to be all rain for Arkansas, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There will be a severe weather side to this as well, so we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. Yeah, Detroit, you're not really going to get much with the first system here. The GFS not showing much, maybe half an inch. The European model really not excited either. So yeah, Detroit with the first system, you're not going to get really anything to talk about. Nothing notable there. What will happen in Northern Virginia? So right now here, again, we're going to go off a couple models. So let's look. Northern Virginia here, you have a few inches of snow, but again, we have a tight gradient setting up there across Northern Virginia. So it really depends exactly where you're placed there. If you're into northern or far northwestern Virginia, really close to that West Virginia, Virginia state line, or near that Virginia, Maryland state line, you're going to see some decent snows as it appears now. On the European model, the GFS is not as bullish. It has it further north, okay? So that means that maybe less snow and more rain for Northern Virginia. So Northern Virginia is also in kind of that questionable area too, to where how far south or north does that snow line go will really dictate your potential for snow for the first system here as we go through the weekend. So we'll fine tune that area as we go closer too, because right now there's just too many variables and questions as it's only Tuesday. Which model is more reliable? The European model performs pretty well. The GFS model has been doing fairly well this year as with storm systems overall, going all the way back to the hurricane season and going through the first half of winter so far. It's been doing pretty well. Now, I will say the GFS model does go a little crazy sometimes with the snowfall totals, so don't really hang your hat on one model with snowfall. So if don't get disappointed either. So if you're living in southern New Jersey and you see an inch of snow on a lot of these models, don't get too hung up on that. Really, there seriously could be a shift further south and a lot of changes still ahead with later this week with the model. So don't get too hung up on the snowfall accumulations as of now. These are just very early predictions. Remember, this storm is moving through this weekend. It's only Tuesday. So we still have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even early Saturday morning to kind of fine tune these snowfall totals for you folks across this region. So make sure you know that. Western Pennsylvania. Okay, so yeah, Western Pennsylvania here. Let's kind of see if I can zoom in a little bit. I can't do that with that. All right, so yeah, Western Pennsylvania right now, it looks like you're in good shape to see, I would say 3 to 6 inches of snow. So if you're talking about the Pittsburgh region, Harrisburg potentially, or maybe further west from there, yeah, we're talking probably 3 to 6 inches, locally higher amounts possible. Let's look over at the GFS. Again, the GFS is more biased towards the higher amount, so don't get hung up on, well, it says 12 inches in Western Pennsylvania, it's definitely going to be 12 inches because the GFS shows it. Well, that's not, that could happen. It's a scenario, but just know that the GFS is a little bit more biased towards more moisture and cold air and some of the snowfall totals out there. So right now we'll go off the European. We'll say 3 to 6 inches is a good bet there, especially around the Pittsburgh region and western PA for sure as we go into the weekend. Will this shift further east? If it shifts further east, you'll see less snow. If it shifts further west, you'll see more snow there in western Pennsylvania. See people saying northeast Pennsylvania. Yeah, I think northeastern Pennsylvania, you're very solidly, as it looks now, we have 3 weather models here. And you can see northeast Pennsylvania, the European model showing a solid foot of snow there. GFS model, basically the same thing. And the Canadian model is actually more bullish with some of that snow in northeastern Pennsylvania closing in on 20 inches. So we're going to keep an eye on it. I would say a solid 8 to 12 inches at this point if you live into northeastern Pennsylvania for sure. So yeah, if you live in northeast Pennsylvania, 8 to 12 inches right now is a good bet with the data that we do have. Again, just joining, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for accurate weather forecasts. I'll be putting a new forecast video out tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning, so make sure you are watching for that, 8 a.m. Central Daylight Time. And also, I will also be putting out possibly another live stream later this week and kind of talking more about this as we have new data coming in. So make sure you're subscribed for that. Like this live stream down below to help get more of this information passed along to more and more people. I really appreciate it. Northwest North Carolina mountains. So yeah, we haven't had a question about the Carolinas yet. Right now, it does look like there will be some snow into the Smoky Mountains down here in the Appalachians across this region into western Virginia and the western Carolinas. Right now, it looks to be a lower end snowfall event as that warmer air is really going to be surging north. So the mountains, though, in northwest Carolinas, especially if you're talking northwestern North Carolina, looks like around 1 to 3 inches right now. That would be a good bet. So definitely seeing some shovelable snow there in the mountains. All right. So we answered enough questions so far about the Northeast. We'll come back to that. Let's talk about the Midwestern storm now, the second one. So let's go into that and talk about that across that region. So let's do this real quick. Let's go to the GFS real quick here. Let's start with the GFS and look at this. And there's a lot of dynamics in play with this storm. So let's talk about this right now. There's that trough. There's the trough as we go into early next week with that system on the GFS model. That's going to be kicking off to the east. But look at this next trough coming in. Look how far south that goes. All the way down into the Baja of California and northwestern Mexico. And I'll tell you what, folks, there's a chance that there's enough cold air aloft that this could actually dislodge some snow into northwestern Mexico and the mountains down there in northwestern Mexico. Now, if that doesn't tell you how strong this storm is, then I don't know what does, because normally we don't see a lot of snow down there in northern Mexico, and we're definitely going to be seeing it potentially this as we go into the weekend. And then look at the storm really kicking out here as we go into that Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday time frame. That trough just kind of hangs across the southern U.S. So let's look at this now. This is again one model run. I have noticed a downward trend in some of the snowfall and phasing. And what I mean by phasing with this system, okay? What I mean by that is you have the polar jet stream to the north, you have that subtropical Pacific jet stream across the southern U.S., right? When you have those two jet streams come together, that's what you call phasing. And usually when they come together, they phase together and you see a stronger storm system overall. Right now, the GFS is struggling with that. So we're not really seeing a big phasing system here as much as it was showing in previous runs, but we're still seeing a stronger storm. So here is Monday afternoon. We're starting to see that snow line breaking out across the upper Midwest there, possibly some preceding snow, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa there, Fort Dodge, Des Moines, up toward Rochester, Minnesota, Dubuque, Iowa, some of those areas, okay? Then we have that snow line moving further south. Amarillo there as we go into Monday on the 8th, possibly eastern New Mexico. Notice, though, there's the warm sector all the way up into Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Dallas-Fort Worth, San Antonio, Houston, Tyler, Texas, Shreveport. You're going to be seeing the rain further to the south as we go into Monday. Then as we go into Monday night, you'll see that low really start to kick out, and it's going to strengthen as it pushes north and east, and it's going to take a similar path. You guys remember the Groundhog Day blizzard of February 1st through the 3rd of 2011. I've been showing that on my videos here the past couple of days. This system has the potential to kind of take that similar track as that did. Now, will it be as significant as that? It remains to be seen, but it's going to take a similar track here, taking it from over Little Rock with the central low pressure over Little Rock to Jonesboro, Arkansas, to Paducah, Kentucky there, and then in toward Indianapolis. And that would put the heaviest snowfall corridor on the northwestern reaches of this system. So we're talking Chicago, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Peoria, Illinois, St. Louis, the Cedar Rapids area in Iowa, Milwaukee, Madison, Wisconsin, Grand Rapids, Michigan there, Toledo, Detroit, even seeing the snowfall as well. But that rain snow line with the GFS model will get very close to Detroit. So you could start with snow in Detroit, then transition to a rain snow mix, and then transition back to snow. So we have some communities out there in the Great Lakes that may actually do that as we go in towards that Tuesday timeframe. But look at that, folks. Look at the tight isobars on the back side of this system here. And looking at the wind speeds, this is 850 millibars, so this isn't at the surface, but some of these winds could mix down to the surface here and cause possibly, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts if this verified with how strong this low pressure would be. So that would be coming out of the northwest. You'll be having snow on the backside. That could create near blizzard or near whiteout conditions if that GFS model does come to fruition. So now let's look here at the snowfall prediction with this for the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Great Lakes. So let's go here to the snowfall potential. Most likely going to be seeing a 10-to-1 ratio snow. So let's look at this here as we go into that time frame. And you can see as we go into that time frame here into early next week, look at the GFS, okay? Now this is another one of those storms. Don't get too hung up on one model here and say, well, the GFS doesn't show snow in north central Illinois, so it's not going to happen. Well, this model run, the GFS, the 12Z, earlier today, doesn't show much for northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. Now, don't take too much stock in this. Again, it's even farther out than the storm we're talking about this weekend for the Northeast and New England and the Mid-Atlantic states. So the same thing is true, that there's still several days for this to change. This could uptrend. This could stay the same. This could downtrend as we get closer. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Right now, the 12Z GFS shows the heaviest corridor of snow from central and southwestern Michigan through Lansing, the Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo region, down through northwestern Indiana there, and then getting into east central Illinois, the Champaign-Urbana region, southern suburbs of Chicago, down into Decatur, Illinois, into the Peoria region, just east of Peoria. So we'll keep an eye on that. Looking at the European model in comparison, and there is a little bit of a trend that right now the European model doesn't do well with the phasing of the system either. So it doesn't have much snow as it did a few days ago, surprisingly. And then we go over to the Canadian model here, and let's zoom it in across this region. And you can see the Canadian model the model's basically, what I'm saying, is all over the place right now. The GFS has it further east. The European model doesn't really see much of the heavy snow with it phasing less. And then the Canadian model really has it further off to the north and west, into Iowa and Wisconsin and Minnesota and far northwestern Illinois. So what I'm saying here is there's a lot of uncertainty still with this storm that has to be worked out. But if the models do show the snowpack like this, if the Canadian model verifies, right, we have the big snow across the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, and New England. With the first system, we have a big snow somewhere across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley or Great Lakes with the second system. Again, that's laying out the groundwork for what we need for more cold and snow later on in January, into February, and even into March. So that is some good news there. Our cold air source up into Canada, where the winds will be coming from with these systems out of the northwest, we'll be seeing some snowfall gradually into that area. We don't have a lot of very deep snow cover in west central Canada besides British Columbia and the mountains there. So it's going to take some time for that snow line to shift further to the south. but I think later this January things will be changing here. So just we got to be patient, folks. This is not a pattern that changes overnight. We definitely have to be patient. So let's go through some of your questions here. No, the snow is not going to go further south into Texas. The only area I see snow potential there in Texas would be the Panhandle, so like Amarillo, north of Lubbock, Texas. I don't see anything getting down to Wichita Falls or DFW or Houston or anything like that. It's going to be simply too warm. Now, I'm glad you brought that up because there is severe weather potential we'll have to keep an eye on here as we go into that early week time frame. So let's look at that real quick. Let's look at that. All right, so we got some big storms potentially breaking out here. The Storm Prediction Center has come out with a slight risk, and we'll show you that here just momentarily. But you can see this is Monday morning around 10 o'clock in the morning. Not much happening across the southern plains. Then as we go into Monday afternoon, big area of storm development. And much like we've seen in Texas lately, along and east of I-35, that's where the thunderstorm activity will reside. So Tulsa, down to the Ardmore region in Oklahoma, DFW, the Denton area, Tyler, Texas, getting down to the Houston area, maybe Corpus Christi, seeing some thunderstorm activity Monday afternoon as it appears right now. And these storms could be severe across eastern and southeastern Texas, damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes possible as we go into that time frame. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then the heavy rainfall threat will take over, and you can see, let's move this over to the southeast and look at all the storm activity across Tennessee and Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia, North Florida, South Carolina. You guys get the idea. We're going to see a lot of rain and a lot of storms down here, and some of those storms could be severe because look at our mid-level jet stream. Look at how much that cranks. That's in the red, folks. That's 70 to 80, even 90 knots from the south-southwest, and you couple that with the low-level jet here as these storms come through. Look at that. We have the reds, purples. That's 60 to 80 knots of low-level jets, and that will actually be coming in more from the south or southeast. So you have that turning of the winds with height with that system as we go into that Monday, Tuesday time frame. So the severe weather threat is possible there. Let's bring up the severe weather outlook here from the Storm Prediction Center to show you what we do have. This is a day 7 risk, folks. This is a day 7 risk for portions of the deep south. So Houston, you're in that slight risk of severe weather. The Lake Charles region into Louisiana, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, getting down to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, and into the Panama City region. You guys are all in that slight risk, 15% shading for severe weather as we go into that Monday night and into early Tuesday morning time frame. This could trend north, and this could expand and also be upgraded. So we'll continue to watch this. But again, we're watching Houston, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, the Mobile, Alabama area, Pasadena, Texas, Panama City, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, you name it, down across that region. So we'll keep an eye on that. We got some damaging wind, large hail, and tornado potential with that storm. That's with the second storm as we go into early next week. We'll keep an eye on that, all right? Yeah, there may be some snow in Lubbock, but I wouldn't expect too much. Maybe a few flurries. That's about it. Thanks for joining, KJ. I appreciate it. How much snow in Detroit? Let's look further north. Right now, it's several days away, but we can give you a very early estimate here for Detroit. Let's look at a couple models here. So let's look at the GFS first. There's Detroit in southeastern Michigan. And let's look at these are very early estimates, folks, so don't take this and run with it. Again, there's a lot of changes here. Right now the GFS is showing 3 to 6 inches. The European model is showing around 3 to 6 inches here, and the Canadian model is not showing much of anything. It has Detroit on the warm side, so that just tells you there's some uncertainty in where that will be. Now I'm going to look at something here real quick. Let's look at the mean here. This is your ensemble guidance. This gives you the most likely scenario. So that's why I said don't lose hope in Northern Illinois. This is your 12Z GEFS ensemble guidance. This is your main run. This takes a mean of all 51 members of the GFS guidance and puts it into one model, the ensemble. And here's the most likely corridor of snow as it shapes up right now. You can see pushing that across portions of southeastern Iowa, northeastern Missouri into northern Illinois, into the Milwaukee and Green Bay areas. And then look at that. Michigan, Indiana, northern Ohio gets some pretty heavy snow. This is an ensemble, folks. Detroit showing 7 inches on the ensemble. Toledo showing 7 inches. Fort Wayne showing 6.5 inches. Rockford, Illinois, 5 inches. Chicago and Cook County, 4.5 to 5 inches. Milwaukee, 6 inches. That's an ensemble. So that's an average of the models. So there's models that have snow amounts higher than that, and there's models that have it lower than that, or right where it is here. So definitely seeing the potential for heavy snow still, even across northern Illinois, where some of the models don't show it, still could remain possible. So don't lose all hope quite yet. Still, again, several days away before this thing could change. This thing could change. Still the track, its intensity, definitely key here. Yeah, the cold air is marginal with this storm. There's not a lot of cold air with this storm, so it's really going to, a big difference will be where this tracks. Okay, so if this tracks, again, just like the Northeast storm, if this tracks further north, then more of Wisconsin and Iowa and Minnesota and Nebraska would see snow, and less snow for the Illinois Valley and the Ohio Valley and Eastern Great Lakes region. So keep that in mind as well. Sorry, folks, I'm just reading some of the comments here. I don't see it, rain Mavs. I think, aren't you from Wisconsin? Didn't you say that before? I don't see a scenario in which Wisconsin gets rain from this system. I think it's the thing I'm certain about. Wisconsin, the Badger State here, I don't think Wisconsin sees really that much rain, if any at all. I think much of the state will either see no snow because you're too far north to even see the snow if the system passes further to the south, or you'll just see all snow for the most part. I don't see a scenario right now where Wisconsin gets rain. I really just don't. There's not much cold air with the system, but there's enough to where I don't see rain in Wisconsin with this storm whatsoever. So I'm very confident about that. So most, if not all, of our precipitation in Wisconsin and the upper Midwest with this system will be snow primarily. Evansville, Indiana. Evansville, you might be, I think you're too far south for snow. You might have to wait for the next couple of systems to come through. We're laying out the foundation here, the snow cover. So Evansville, probably more of rain with this system than anything else. And you can confirm that here with the GFS model. And you can see Evansville looks like we start as rain, mostly there into your Monday night time frame. Into southern Indiana, we stay as rain through Tuesday, and then we could have some snow on the backside there, according to the GFS model in Evansville, and that could lead to maybe an inch or two of snow near the Evansville area if the GFS model verifies there. Looking at the European model, yeah, really nothing there for Evansville, so you're probably more likely to see rain than snow there in southern Indiana as we go into early next week. Will rain come in, sweep the snow? I'm not sure what that question really means, but. What are the odds that Northwest Ohio gets 2 inches or more of snow? Let's see here. Let's look. I think it's a good shot. Let's look here at the ensemble guidance real quick. I think Northwest Ohio, you're basically, I wouldn't say in the bullseye, but on this ensemble you are. But yeah, I think it's a good bet. I think you have a decent shot at a couple inches of slushy snow there in Northwest Ohio. But again, it's all about the track. We certainly could see the track shift further north, and if that is the case, Northwest Ohio and Detroit would see more rain, and the snow would be further west. So that would take it from Lansing to Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids, over to Green Bay, Milwaukee, and down through Chicago, versus over there towards like Toledo and those areas and Columbus. So we'll keep an eye on that. Thanks for subscribing, Cupcake. I appreciate it. Detroit might get some rain. Again, there's a few days away, so it's either rain or snow. Detroit's going to get precipitation from this, but whether or not it's rain or snow remains to be seen. I'm leaning more snow for Detroit, but if this shifts again, like I said, further north, then it would be more rain versus snow for Detroit. I can't say for certain about a blizzard in Milwaukee, but I do think there will be a decent shot at some accumulating snow in Milwaukee early next week. So right now the ensemble mean has about 5 inches of snow, 5.5 inches there. That takes an average of all the 50 members or so of the GEFS guidance and puts it into one ensemble. And right now Milwaukee is in that 5.5 range. So we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, probably will, because more systems that come in, it'll probably melt pretty quick after this in southeast Michigan. All right. School closing in Milwaukee, it's possible. There definitely could be some big enough snows to close some schools for Tuesday next week. But it really all hinges on the track, again, of the storm. I can't stress that enough, folks, is the track of this storm is as key as it gets. Literally, if it shifts 50 to 70 miles north or south, it will mean the difference between a few inches of snow and several inches of snow or just all rain. So we'll keep an eye on that. Well, all right, so thank you guys so much for joining here today. Again, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below on your way out if you haven't already for detailed weather breakdowns across North America, the tropics. We will keep you covered here during the entire winter season and throughout all 365, all around the year here on this channel with accurate weather forecasts. We'll break this down for you here on my videos. I'll do another video tomorrow morning. Be watching out for that at 8 o'clock Central Daylight Time. Make sure to share that video with friends, family, and on social media. It really helps to get more of that valuable information passed along to more and more people, because I really do put a lot of work into that, looking at weather models. And actually, after this live stream, I'm going to get started on that video. So make sure that you do watch that. Lots of great information coming up on that. We'll be looking ahead a little bit, peeking into the middle of January and what's to expect there, and we'll go from there. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. Like the live stream again, subscribe on the way out, and I hope everybody has a great New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. It's January 2nd today, and thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everybody. Thanks for joining. Goodbye, everybody.